Good evening, and welcome again to Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott, and tonight we're going to get a little spaced out again. Our guest tonight is Michelle Nichols from the Adler Planetarium, and we're going to talk about outer space and all sorts of other cool stuff, aren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, well, welcome back to the show. You've been here not too long ago,
Right.
and it was so much fun.
It was fun, and the time just flew right by,
Yes,
so
we
just
decided
had to come back.
We had to do it again. Yeah. So let's start with some basic stuff, because
Yes.
I know the planetarium does a lot of things, a lot of activities that people need to know about.
Yep.
So what kinds of things are coming up that we should tell people about?
This summer is going to be pretty exciting. So first off, people often ask me whenever I'm out and about, hey, can I look through a telescope when I come to the Adler? And our hours are mostly during the day, so we take advantage of that and show people using telescopes something that they probably think that they can't look at very often, which is the sun.
Oh.
And so we have a dedicated group of volunteers who point telescopes at the sun whenever the sun is actually out. And so they're generally out from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. during the week. And so folks can come by, and if they're out, put your eyeball up to that eyepiece, and I promise your eyes will not fry. We keep
These
safe.
are special telescopes, right?
Special telescope. Well, a special filter that goes on the front of the telescope. So there's a glass filter in a metal ring that fits on the front of the telescope, blocks out most of the light from the sun, just lets through enough that it's a safe amount to look at. And so we love to show people the sun whenever we can.
Now, how good is magnification there? I mean, could you see like flares on the sun?
So we usually try to have two types of telescopes to look at the sun. The one I described is called a white light telescope. It will look at the sun with its visible light coming from the sun, light that your eyes can see, but pretty evenly spread across the colors of light that you can see from the sun. So the sun kind of looks, well, sort of looks orangish through this filter. There's another type of telescope that looks at a very specific type of light from the sun. It's kind of a pinkish red color, but it comes from glowing hydrogen. And it'll show you features like those wisps of gas coming off the sun. They're called prominences. If there are sunspots, you may see them through either of those telescopes. We won't see flares specifically because those generally are they're types of light that our eyes can't see, that flares give off. But you can at least see the area of the sun where the flare is coming from. It's usually fairly prominent.
Now, when I see pictures of, video of the sun, and this is not some friend of mine, but you see things on science shows and things, and they're always showing what look like flares from the sun. And you're saying that normally we wouldn't see those, so that's an artifact of some sort of special effect?
Yeah, no, it's not really a special effect. It's a different type of light. So it's a detector that detects a wavelength of light that our eyes can't see.
Okay.
And just putting it into a format that you can see. So sort of like paint by number, basically saying these colors will represent this type of light, be they X-rays, radio waves, whatever.
That's why when I look through science magazines and they talk about an image, then they say this is a false color image.
Correct, correct. I personally try to stay away from using the term false color, it's not because it isn't right, it is completely correct. But it gives that patina of fake.
Yeah, like you're lying to me.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
really look like that.
Right, and we're not lying to you. So I call it paint by number or coded color sometimes.
Coded color.
I like to call it
that.
coded color. So you're just using a code of this wavelength, color it this color, and this other wavelength, color it that color. And so the neat thing is, though, you can then start to see features on the sun that your eye wouldn't normally show you. So, but the telescopes are usually a great way to get people to look through something, like I said, that they usually think that they can't look at, that it's somehow not safe to do that. So, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, it's great. It's like the old joke, we're going to take a space journey to the sun, and people say, oh, you're just going to get burned to a cinder. It's like, no, we're going at night.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
Yep, exactly right.
So I think we have a picture, don't we have a picture
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
solar
so.
telescope?
Yep.
Let's see if we can get that up and have people look at it. Now, you say there are two, so each telescope is fitted with its own filter, right?
Correct, yes. So the picture that is going to come up is the the quote white light telescope. So
Yeah.
the filter on the front, and then you look through that telescope, and that filter tends to, like I said, make the sun look a little more orange than it normally would be. But
Here we go.
there we
So
go.
here's a
There's
young
a young
woman.
lady looking at that. So that was a picture taken, I believe it was March 15th of this year, and it was nice and clear that day.
Yes,
So
it was even warm enough not to have your winter garb on.
yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't too bad. So that's the filter right on the front. And so if we take that off when we're not looking at the sun, we can then use that telescope to look at things at night. So that telescope is pretty versatile.
Now, if you were to take that filter off during the day, I would assume you cannot look through it. I mean, could theoretically damage your eye by looking straight into the sun.
If you're looking at the sun, correct. But we can point that telescope, if we point the telescope away from the sun, take the filter off, you can point it at something off in the distance if you want to.
Some tall building. Right?
Sure, yeah.
See who's goofing off at work.
Yeah,
right?
well, we can't see them that close up, so but that's a good thing. So that'd be a little creepy. But yeah, sometimes we have to do that when it's cloudy out. So it can be cloudy 2 days out of 3 down there where we are. So we sometimes point different types of telescopes at the skyline. Here, compare this one to this one. Compare a replica of Galileo's telescope to a replica of Isaac Newton's telescope. What's the same? What's different? So we give people a variety of experiences, even if it's cloudy.
Now, last time you were here, we actually had some examples of those replica telescopes.
Yep.
But do you actually have people look through them when you come down to the planetarium?
Absolutely, absolutely. They do us no good if they're just sitting around and you're looking at it. We want you to look through it. Exactly. So eyeball to the eyepiece. That's my goal.
So some of the things that are very interesting, well, I find this whole topic interesting, but we were talking about Mars before the show, and that Mars is coming up to a close proximity where the orbits of Mars and Earth come closest together. Was it 37 million miles, did you say?
It'll be about 36 million miles
36
away.
million.
So there's a photo that we're going to bring up about with a diagram of what this looks like at various times. And so what happens is we've got Earth's orbit and Mars's orbit. There it is. So Earth's orbit and Mars's orbit.
So Earth is blue.
Earth is blue. The Mars is that
red.
reddish color. And
So Martians are Republicans and Earthlings are Democrats?
well, I don't know. We have to ask them. Maybe
to
they
get
use.
there.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a totally
okay.
different color code there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the number. So you see the lines in between each one, and each of those dates there indicates when Mars and Earth were close to each other in their orbits. And so, for
And you said
example,
that they were in opposition.
opposition, right? Opposition means Mars and Earth on the same side of the sun. So the sun goes down, Mars comes up. And so for those particular times, though, it isn't always at the same spot in Mars and Earth's orbits. And so they can be at different distances because our orbit is not a perfect circle, and Mars's orbit especially is not a perfect circle. And so these distances can vary. You can see up at the top, kind of about 1 o'clock on that diagram, the distances can be as much as 63 million miles away. That means Mars is going to look kind of tiny. But it could be as close as it was in 2003 at 35 million miles away. At the end of July, beginning of August, Mars is going to be about 36 million miles away. So it's going to be at its closest point to Earth that it's been since 2003.
Now that difference of 35 million to 36 million, I would think, not knowing this subject, that these orbits would be the same year after year, and it would always be the same distance at that closest point, but obviously it's not.
Nope, because Mars and Earth orbit at different speeds, and so we go faster, Mars goes slower. So when you get to the same, spot, or when you get to those opposition points, it's not always going to happen at the same spot in the orbit. So we go around the sun every 365 and a quarter days. Mars goes around the sun, it's about 2 years, but it's not quite 2 years. That opposition point occurs about every 26 months.
Okay.
So that means it's going to be a few months
move
off
around,
each time.
right?
It's going to move around.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So, but this opposition Mars should be nice and bright. We've got another photo, a drawing of what the sky will look like at 9:30 p.m. on approximately July 30th, 31st, August 1st. There it is.
There we go.
And so if you've got a clear view to the horizons, especially the west and the east, and looking toward the south. So so at 9:30 p.m., July 30th, 31st, August 1st, give or take several days. It isn't exact. You'll see Venus is there low in the west, and it's going to be super bright. You will not mistake it for anything else. To the southwest, you'll see Jupiter. Again, it's going to be really bright. There isn't really going to be too much out there that's as bright as Jupiter, so we have no trouble spotting that. Directly to the south, you'll see the planet Saturn, and then rising in the southeast, you will see Mars. And so Mars will look kind of bright orange. Saturn will look dimmer, and it will look kind of yellowish tan. Jupiter is going to be very bright, and it's going to look kind of an off-white color, kind of. And then Venus is going to be super bright, and it's going to be just really bright white looking. So Venus is really reflective.
And these are not coded colors.
These
are
are
real colors
actual colors you
that
can
we'll
see with your own eyes. Yes.
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 Got it.
And so at the Adler, we are going to celebrate this because on Monday night, July 30th, we were going to have a big observing event. Come on down. We'll have telescopes out. We will have activities going on inside the building and outside. We will have our planetarium shows going on. And this, related to that, this summer we're having a planetarium film fest. We're going to be showing 6 different planetarium shows at various times throughout the summer. So folks can come down and see some of the best planetarium shows from other institutions. So we're bringing them in, and you'll see 6 different ones all throughout the summer. And it's coming at different times. They'll be playing at different times.
And
so,
is there a name for this event where all these 4 planets line up, like a convergence or something like that?
Not really. It's just lucky happenstance that we've got we've got all these planets up there for us to see. But Mars is going to be the really bright one. So we're calling that Mars opposition, or Mars really close to Earth. And so.
So I'm curious about the term opposition. I know you don't make up these terms,
right,
but it seems like opposition to me means that they would be furthest away, like they would be on opposite sides of the sun. I would think that there'd be some other term for being.
Well, it's
same
opposite. Sun and Mars are on opposite sides of Earth. Earth being, of course, the center of the universe, as we all know.
As we all know.
So, yeah, it's opposite sides for Sun and Earth, and Mars.
I see.
With Earth being apparently in the middle.
Yes.
So not exactly.
Yes.
So.
Well, just in the middle of those 2.
Exactly, in the middle of those 2.
Right,
yeah.
right. So this is the end of July, early August, when this event is going to be going on.
Correct. Yep.
And what times of day is this all day long? Is it into the evening?
For the observing event,
yes,
it'll be evening. So best thing to do, check the website. We'll throw information up there in the next few weeks or so, and we'll have the times and what's going to be going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. At the very least, come on down. Be amongst a bunch of geeked out folks looking at Mars through telescopes, and you'll be among friends. And so we'll all check out Mars together, and as it is at its closest to Earth since 2003, and really, really bright in the sky. However, not as big as the full moon in the sky, contrary to that hoax email that comes up about every year, and it has come out ever since 2004, where someone has sent out an email that says, oh yeah, Mars at the end of August is going to be as big as the full moon in the sky. Mars is never as big as the full moon in the sky. If Mars is as big as the full moon in the sky, we have problems.
Yes, it's coming for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's less than 500,000 miles away from Earth at that point, and that can't happen.
Yeah,
so,
that would be very dangerous.
Yeah. No, it'll just be very bright, very orange, very easy to spot.
So what other events, you mentioned that there are these shows that are going to be going on. So these are all evening events then? Because
the planetarium shows are all basically every day. So we've got our regular hours, mostly daytime hours. Yeah. So we've got the planetarium shows, we've got our daily solar observing, and a variety of activities that happen every single day. We've got an awesome team of floor facilitators who just bring astronomy to life, and they want to share that excitement with everyone else. So we invite everyone to come on down.
Yes, I'll have to do that. You know, I haven't been there in years, I'm embarrassed to say.
Oh, gosh. Well, I do hear that. I do hear that from time to time. It's okay.
Well, you know, especially if you grew up in Chicago. You know, you go as a kid,
Yep.
and you go and see it, and you think, oh, this is really cool. And then as you get to be an adult, you think, yeah, I was there as a kid. It's like, but it's not the same as an adult.
Yeah.
You see it with much different eyes.
Definitely,
right?
definitely. And we change our exhibits, we change our shows, we change our programs. So a lot of things change all throughout the year, every year.
There was what I recall last time, the equipment, the optical equipment that displays the stars on the inside of the planetarium, made by a German company called Zeiss.
Right.
And,
Right.
is that stuff still around? It looked like that was, they built that stuff in the, I don't know, it looked like they built it in the 1930s.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
still working, right?
Well, the Adler Planetarium opened on May 12th, 1930, so it was Max Adler's 64th birthday. He was an associate of Sears Roebuck and Company, so he had made a considerable amount of money and wanted to give back to the city of Chicago. And so he decided he wanted to do something, but he wasn't quite sure what. He took a trip to Germany on a boat, on a ship, went over there.
Couldn't fly there in those days.
Nope,
no.
nope, not easily. And he had heard of this planetarium thing, this thing that projected the sky up onto the interior of a dome. And so he went to see these in action. And so they were made by the Carl Zeiss Company in Jena, Germany. And so he went, yep, that's what I want to do for Chicago. And so he had an architect as well, and that architect's name was Ernest Grunsfeld. Ernest Grunsfeld designed the dome-shaped, 12-sided building that is our iconic shape. What I find personally incredibly interesting is that the Adler and the Shedd Aquarium opened within like a month of each other, but we look very different.
Two different architects.
Yeah,
right?
two different architects, very neoclassical for them, columns, the waves on the top of the building, all that. We are very Art Deco, so really interesting to see the two different types of architecture used for two very different subjects. But anyway, the planetarium projector that was installed was, well, we were the first planetarium in the entire Western Hemisphere. And so
isn't Germany in the Western Hemisphere?
No, Germany's in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Where's
the prime meridian, the 0 point, is anything east of there, Eastern Hemisphere. Anything west of there, Western Hemisphere.
And the prime meridian runs through
England.
England.
Yep. So they are simultaneously in the Eastern and Western Hemispheres.
You know, it's the stuff I should know. I feel like I
No,
knew
it's
this
all right.
in,
It's something you don't
in
really
grammar
think
school,
about.
and like, you forget all this stuff.
So you don't think about it on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
You go, wait a minute. So anyway, when we got our planetarium projector, it was a Zeiss Mark II. It was later upgraded, I believe in the 50s, to a Zeiss Mark IV. And then it was replaced in 1970 with a Zeiss Mark VI, and that was state-of-the-art at that time. We don't own our Zeiss Mark II. We know where it is, but we don't own it.
I mean, it's no longer at the planetarium.
It's no longer at the Adler,
somewhere else.
Right. But we have the Zeiss Mark VI. It's just not on display or anything, but we definitely have it. It's part of our collection. Well, it's in storage. It's something we hope we could bring out at some point to have folks look at it up close, because I bet people haven't really seen it much in the light of day, because you're always in a theater where it's very dark.
Yes.
So
what's used today? If those cameras
it's
are
all digital. All
of
digital.
course, the world is digital, right?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is we house lots of different generations of planetarium technology. Everything from the mechanical model of the solar system, which also in the past has been given the word planetarium. Sun as a ball in the middle, planets or whatever on the outside. You turn a crank and they go around and around. These things are still made. But a lot of times you'll hear them as the name orrery, O-R-R-E-R-Y, orrery, named for the Earl of Orrery. And so we have the very first one of those ever made in, I believe, 1704.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is this stuff on display?
I believe that one is, or it has been,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in the recent time. And so the various models of that, we've got the Atwood sphere, which is a big 15-foot wide sheet metal ball with holes drilled in it. Light shines through the holes, looks like the starry sky. Problem with that is, though, you can't change your latitude. You're stuck with your latitude.
Yeah.
So it only shows you...
That's a problem. I always feel stuck with my latitude. I
Yeah,
always feel
so
there's got to be some way to break out of that.
Change that. Change that mindset. So how do you do that? Project your sky onto the dome. Well, the drawback of the projection, like Zeiss-type planetarium was, it could only show you the skies over Earth. Anywhere on Earth, but only on Earth.
With digital technology.
Digital, if you have a computer model, it can go anywhere you want.
Anywhere in the known universe.
Anywhere in the
fact.
known universe, and even if it's not so well known, you can go there too.
Make it up.
Yep.
Right. So we have some other photos here. There's another
Yeah.
program you guys have, and it's Scopes in the City.
Scopes in the City.
Right.
Yep.
Strategically placed telescopes around town.
Yeah, we take telescopes out. It's a telescope outreach program, and so we basically go where people are, and we'll set up in parks. We'll set up outside of Chicago Public Libraries. So there is one that is for an event where we were at Millennium Park.
Now that looks like it's daytime as well.
It
So
was
is
early evening, and so
Okay.
what I believe they were looking at Venus, which was visible just as the sun was setting. The sky looks a little brighter than it actually was.
Okay.
But yeah, that's our Scopes in the City telescope. Pretty respectable size right there. And that's the typical type we take out, pretty portable, real easy to use. There's another little girl. That was at the Garfield Park Conservatory, and unfortunately it was cloudy, but kids were loving.
They didn't care. Yeah.
Nope, they were loving looking through that telescope. So
I can see both of the big smiles. On even
exactly,
the
she was
young
so
girl in
cute.
the background. She
Yep,
looks like
yep.
she's as happy as can be.
And the parents were just having a ball. So, and then this was also at Millennium Park. But this summer we're going to take our telescopes to 12 or 13 different Chicago Public Library branches. We'll go to the Warrenville Library. And also, we're going to go to 10 different tap rooms, breweries, just a different audience for us. And so...
So they can see double through the telescope, not just
Well,
as they stagger out of the bar, right?
maybe. We'll hope everyone is a responsible
Right,
consumer.
yes, yes.
And so, yeah, we're going to go in Chicago and in the western suburbs, trying that out, see how it goes. And hopefully next year, if this is popular, hey, I know there's tap rooms all over the place. Those southern suburbs folks and northern suburbs folks, we'll get you.
Well, and people's inhibitions will be lowered, so they won't feel foolish about going to look through a telescope, right?
Exactly. We want to show people that the sky belongs to everyone. Everyone deserves a chance to look at it, no matter where they are. So that's why we take telescopes out. We want to bring the sky to people and show them the sky in our city and in our suburbs is not hopeless. And I'm actually saying those words on purpose because...
Why would we think the sky was hopeless?
Because people go, oh, we can't see anything because of all the lights.
The light pollution,
right. But we can see planets, we can see bright stars, we can see the moon, we can see those easy things. And once you start finding those easier to find things in the sky, you start to get used to those patterns. Then you can look for where Jupiter is this year, and oh, can I spot it next year? Or Saturn or Mars, and get to see Venus and watch it over the course of several weeks or several months. And those sorts of things get people used to looking up at the sky.
Yeah, we have a tendency to look down at our phones most of the time.
Yep,
so
at our phones or at our shoes.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, my shoes are not that interesting. And so that's why we really want to bring
So this schedule
telescopes to
is
folks.
on the website, so people can find out
Yeah,
where you're
Scopes in
going
the
to
City.
be?
The whole schedule is up there for the summer. We're probably going to add 1 or 2 more dates, so keep checking. And the best thing to do is follow Adler's social media feeds. Facebook, Adler Planetarium, or Twitter, Adler Planet. They don't allow enough letters to do Adler Planetarium. So it's Adler Planetarium on Facebook, Adler Planet on Twitter. And that's where people will get the updates as to where weather might be affecting if we can do Scopes in the City, because sometimes
So the
it's completely weather dependent.
So the website itself won't necessarily tell you about the weather. You
Right.
look at social media for those updates.
Correct. Yep. Or if it's right at the last minute, maybe the day before, we try to take the event off the website. But by that time, people have probably already started to make their plans.
Yeah.
So best thing to do: check social media to get those last minute updates. If you're not quite sure, if you're looking at the sky, going, I think it's cloudy, and so we'll be able to tell you if we're
Of
going
course,
to
you
be
can
out.
always check your phone for the weather, right? And see,
True,
yeah.
true. Although the weather can be so changeable, we can have completely different weather at the Adler than 5 miles inland.
Oh, sure, you're right on the lake.
Right
so it's
on the
really
lake.
Different, almost a different climate zone.
Technically
right there.
in the lake.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you are at that.
Yeah, for sure.
In the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a while, I lived in California, San Francisco Bay Area, which had those really stark climate zone
Yes.
variations. You know, right on the ocean, in the East Bay, on the other side of the hills. It was like being in 3 different states.
Yep.
And you could get there all in a matter of about an hour and a half. You could go through 3 completely different
Yeah.
climate zones.
I can be at the Adler and just go to Union Station, and it could be 5 degrees, 10 degrees warmer, depending on what else is going on if it's in the summer, for example.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. There's one lunar eclipse that we had. We were utterly clouded out at Adler, 2 miles inland, completely clear.
Were you able to pick up one of those portable telescopes and go see it inland?
Nope, unfortunately. And we had people who were, this is before the era of social media, so we had no way of letting people know it was cloudy where we were.
Yeah.
And so people who were watching it in their driveways, able to look up and go, oh yeah, the lunar eclipse is cool, let's go to the Adler. And we were utterly clouded
Completely socked in. Ah,
It
what a
happens.
shame.
It happens.
Yes. Well, you know, it's a part of the problem with sky gazing, right? That
Yeah.
You're looking at the sky and lots of things happen in the sky, including weather.
It's a great reason to learn weather and learn weather patterns.
Yeah. So what else is coming up? We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left. So what else can we tell people about why they should go this summer to the planetarium?
Well, let's see. We have our scopes in the city. We've got our daily telescopes. We've got our facilitated programs with awesome facilitators. We've got our summer film fest. We've got summer camps going on at the Adler as well. So if you've got kids from preschool to high school who need something to do this summer, then check our website. We've got a variety of summer camps, including a camp to have kids learn how to prepare a high altitude balloon where they will send up a payload, not themselves, but a payload
Yes.
with some science instruments, and they send it up.
Real science instruments.
Real science instruments, yeah, and it gets up to about 100,000 feet in altitude, give or take.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the balloon pops and it comes down via parachute. They go retrieve it. They do all this in a field trip in a day, and they
Now,
get
where do you do
imagery.
that? I
Yeah,
mean,
we launch from Kankakee.
Kankakee. I was thinking because, you know, there's lots of air traffic here in the city.
Correct,
So
correct.
you have to be careful of that, right?
Nope, can't launch from here.
No, you can't launch anywhere near the airports.
Right. We're in the flight path for 2 of them. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, but yeah, they go down to Kankakee. You're outside the flight paths, and yeah, it's really cool. Occasionally, they can see that payload land, and so it's pretty neat to see.
And you have ways of retrieving it, right? You can
Yes.
figure out where it landed and
Yes,
track it
correct.
down,
Yeah, they
right?
track it using GPS
Okay.
and ham radio, and yeah, it's just the kids learn how to do all of it. And
So how long are these camp sessions? Are they like a day at a time or a week at a time?
yeah, so that particular camp, which is called Mission Near Space or Mission Near Space 2, depending on the age, that is a week-long day camp with the day-long field trip, usually on Thursday. Sometimes weather makes it on Wednesday,
Yeah.
but those are almost all of our camps are week-long camps. We also do a tri-institutional summer camp with field and shed. So the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium. So the kids go visit all 3 museums in a week. And yeah, it's pretty
Yeah, that's
pretty cool.
great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Been doing that for what, 25 years, I think.
And is there a charge for these things?
Yes, yes.
so-
And so it depends on the camp. And so best thing to do, go to the website, look up the camps information. We've got camps for little kids, and those might be only a day or 2 long, up to week-long camps for
high school.
for older kids. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
So parents who are desperate to get their kids out of the house in the summer, think about the planetarium, right?
Absolutely.
And so for adults, you've got these shows, right?
Yep, yep.
And you mentioned something about the movies. So what are these?
Yeah,
movies?
so the film fest that we're doing, so there are shows that we produce at the Adler. There are shows that other planetariums produce. And we are bringing in 6 planetarium shows from other institutions like the American Museum of Natural History and others. And just a really great variety of shows. And so we invite folks to come down. 2 shows are going to play a couple weeks at a time. And so throughout the summer, you can come back 3 times and see 6
Completely
different shows.
That would be fabulous.
It would be. It's a lot of fun. It's a good reason to get a membership, because that way, basically the membership pays for itself in 1 visit, maybe 2.
I think I'm sold.
That's my job.
And well, then you've done your job, and we're out of time, so it's perfect timing.
Perfect.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
I hope you'll be a regular guest and update us on what's happening.
Anytime.
Well, thank you for joining us once again in Outer Space and on Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. You can find us every Saturday night on Comcast Channel 19 at 8 p.m. or see us on the web at publicperspective.tv. So until next time, thank you and good night.